My daughter's been trying to warn me for weeks. I really should have listened. Daddy? I think there's a monster in the attic. I gave my daughter a tired smile. It was the best I could do at this point. She'd been doing this for weeks now. Every night I'd come and tuck her in, switch the nightlight on and kiss her goodnight, when she would pull the blanket tight under her chin and tell me about the monster living in the attic of our house. Eyes wide, lips quivering. She would shake her little head furiously and insist that she could not possibly go to sleep until I got up and checked. It wouldn't matter how much I tell her that it's all just in her head, and that monsters aren't real. If I don't check the attic, she'd wake up screaming and crying just past midnight, every single time. It's not like her fears were completely baseless, as we had all been hearing odd skittering noises coming from up there at night. Probably rats. No monsters that light-footed. Please, Daddy, could you go and check? She whispered, afraid that the thing upstairs would eavesdrop and get mad at her request. Okay, I replied. There was no harm in indulging this little quirk of hers for at least a little longer. After all, the day when she would stop asking me to check for monsters and slam the door shut on my face wasn't all that far away. I just wished it wasn't the attic, though. Why can't the damn thing live in her closet like a normal monster? Like a bored robot carrying out its daily task, I trudged out of her room, yawning as I reached the attic door, before sliding the ladder down and climbing up, one rickety rung at a time. I popped my head into the cramped space, slipped my phone out of my pocket and turned on its flashlight. Motes of dust shivered in the pale glow cast by the phone which illuminated the attic. Cardboard boxes covered in tattered rags. My wife's old easel and some broken furniture filled up the tiny attic, but no monsters. All right, honey, I said after coming back down to my daughter's room. I've checked. No monsters again tonight. Maybe we'll find them tomorrow. She grinned, relieved. Thank you, Daddy. Good night, love. Good night. Groaning and rubbing the crick in my neck, I entered our bedroom and plopped down on the bed belly first, mushing my face into the pillow. Is Daddy back from fighting monsters? My wife asked, slight mirth dancing in her tired voice. I grunted. Yep. Kicked its little ass and sent it scurrying back to hell. She chuckled, and then turned over to the other side, her back facing me. I shut my eyes and got ready to go to sleep, when I was rudely interrupted by the critters in the attic skittering around like kids hopped up on candy. Freaking bastards with their little rat paws slapping against the wooden flooring of the attic. Babe, you really need to get rid of those rats. I nodded, then realized she couldn't see me. Yeah. Tomorrow. She sighed and shrugged her shoulders. Soon her breathing slowed down as she fell asleep. I wanted to follow her into the dream world, but my stiff neck wouldn't allow me to do so. I tossed and turned, before finally realizing I'd have to lie on my back if I were to have any shot at catching some sleep. And I hated doing that. I hadn't slept on my back in ages, but the ache in my neck forced me. And then that damn skittering again. Heck. I rubbed my forehead, wiggled my shoulders and opened my eyes. And saw who? No. What had been making that noise for all those weeks? Up on the ceiling I spotted a figure. White, but hidden by the dark. I froze. What the heck? It shifted, and there was that sound again, like claws scratching wood. My heart beat faster and my body erupted in sweat. What the heck? What the heck? Hands trembling, I reached for my phone and gently swung it around, shining the light on the figure on the ceiling. The light fell upon a face. Old, wrinkled, framed by matted locks of white hair that flowed down like the aerial roots of an ancient tree. It was an old woman, dressed in white, leering down at me, her fingers digging into the wood of the ceiling. I gasped, and the grinning woman turned and crawled out of the room, moving across the ceiling like a messed up Spider Woman, before disappearing into the hallway outside. I jumped out of the bed and ran out into the hallway, letting my eyes scan each and every inch of the walls outside. But there was no one there. It was like she had disappeared. I would have almost believed that I had dreamt it all up if I hadn't noticed the long claw marks on the ceiling and felt my stomach drop. And that's when I finally understood that for all those weeks that we had been hearing those sounds, it wasn't some rats skittering around. It was that woman looking down at our sleeping bodies, watching, grinning.
I'm from the Netherlands, and last year, my friends and I were having a party. I use the word party very loosely. It was just a few stupid 18-year-old dudes getting drunk at one of our friends' places. His family's rich, lived in the Rijswijk, and had a house with a good-sized garden. So, when we were hanging at this guy's place, we always had a blast. Eric, the guy whose place we were hanging at, suggested that we explore the deep web together. He had downloaded Tor and had been looking around on it for the past couple of days, and figured it would be fun, just for laughs. Most of us hadn't even heard of the deep web before, so when he explained to us what it was, our drunken asses were totally in. So he shows us all of the common sites that you've probably heard of. After a while, we started going off-road and looking for some obscure, crazy things. We found people selling drugs, a bunch of those hitmen services which look pretty fake, even a site where you could have a box full of actual shit mailed to someone. That one was particularly funny at the time. Still sort of is. We came across a site in Dutch that was selling animals. Not crazy, exotic animals, but like cats and dogs. Okay, that's pretty weird. Why would you need to be selling such normal pets on the deep web? We were about to click off and find something more interesting, when a chat box popped up on the screen, asking us what sort of animal we were looking for, and if we needed any help. Drunk off our asses, we decided to play along with this random guy who must have run the site, and since he sold dogs, we typed to him in English, "Can you send a bunch of bitches around to my place ASAP?" Our country is highly proficient in English, so he definitely understood our innuendo. He told us to stop wasting his time and to get off the site. We decided to ask a legitimate question. Why are you selling cats and dogs on the deep web? The guy's response really surprised us, as we didn't see it coming. He told us that all of the pets for sale on the site were stolen from their previous owners and then sold on for profit. The guys behind the site would go around to people's houses, wait for their dogs to be let out into the yard, steal their designer pets, and then sell them at a major discount. We asked him why he did it, and he said it was surprisingly lucrative. Since some breeds can be really expensive and sought after, there was a lot of demand. They also stole cats, which he said were much easier to get a hold of, since owners kept much less of an eye on them. What was our response to this? Well, we were drunk, so we started calling him an arsehole. He didn't respond well to this, calling us pussies and saying we'd never say such a thing to his face. He wasn't eloquent or anything, he just typed like some sort of thug. At one point, Eric, who was typing, was saying that if the guy had any pets of his own, he would realise how messed up what he was doing was, and that he'd fuck up anyone he caught trying to steal his cat. There was a slight pause before the guy simply replied, "Okay, I'm coming to get it, and you won't catch me." Bullshit, we all thought. Firstly, what are the frigging odds that this jerk-off would ever do anything? On top of that, what are the odds that he even lives close by enough for it to be worth his while? So we figured, screw it. We kept berating him and calling him an arsehole in a variety of ways. After a while, he stopped responding with his empty threats, and just went silent. We kept typing, but since he wasn't responding anymore, we got bored quickly. A week or so passed, and I get a call from Eric that chilled me to the damn bone. Turns out that the guy's threats weren't so empty after all. His mum had gone to let the family cat, Cubus, into the house the night before, but it was nowhere to be seen. She figured that it just wanted to stay out for the night, so the family went to bed and thought no more about it. The next morning, when she opened the front door, right there on the doorstep was Cubus, almost totally skinned. It may have taken them a while longer to realise that the bloody mess was their cat, had the skin and fur of the tail not been left on as to help them identify it. The guy must have traced Eric's IP address, located his house, waited to find out which cat was his, and then caught it when no one else was watching. Maybe he was planning on stealing it, but figured that the breed wasn't worth taking, so he'd just send a message instead. We also don't know whether he really did live close by, or got someone else to do his dirty work. The thought of him living close by is pretty horrifying, as is the thought that he was watching Eric's house, or at least someone was. We didn't fully realise who we were messing with. Sorry, Cubus.
If you want to see more animated horror stories, check out the YouTube channel Animatrodon.